Manufacturing automation is the add-on that we have now. Used to be called WOOP, which stood for Work Order Efficiency Package, and we basically rebranded it because besides just the standard efficiencies in the make-to-order, we basically added some other add-ons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the new efficiency base, which everyone's required, and then the add-ons. And the add-ons consist of make-to-order, outside processing, auto-generate POs, and scheduling. So we might be able to get through this in an hour or so. I scheduled it for 2. Sometimes it's taken me an hour and a half, and then with questions, we've dragged it on a little bit. But we might be able to get through in an hour, hour and 15 minutes, but we'll see. Okay? We'll come back here at the end. I'll show you the retail pricing if you haven't seen that already. But we're going to just go ahead and get right to it. So I'm assuming everyone can see my screen okay. If need be, I can make the resolution bigger. But why don't I go ahead and just jump right in. As you can see from the main menu, you're going to notice that we've got extra entries here on the screen. Basically, we allow new features right here. So what we'll do is we'll go through those. But what I'll do first is start with the efficiency base detail. So why don't I go ahead and go to work order options and show you there first, where we add our additional panel for work order efficiency, and we'll go ahead and start there. Okay, one of the big features that we do is that we allow you to enter work orders in released mode. So that's an efficiency that saves you time from not having to put it in firm plan and then having to release it. So that works real good for the people that are doing back flushing as their material issues or doing manual. And a lot of people that do manual might also have the WO Scan add-on from Joe Basaha. So we integrate with him for that too. But basically it just makes work order processing a lot faster and more efficient if you're able to just put it in released. So we allow that. Another feature that we have here also is that when you're creating your work order, we'll prompt you if your components are not available when you're on the materials tab. So only for new work orders, as you're going through, you'll be able to be prompted for that. Another efficiency is the auto close feature when you're doing completions. So when you're going through and doing a completion in transaction entry, we'll prompt you if you want to auto close the work order. And that helps if you're either, making a work order complete the first time or you're doing the final partial of a completion. And that way, what that'll do is it'll run the close register at the same time it's running the completions. And that way, you don't have to do a separate close register. Work order number in IM transaction detail. So standard mass, when it posts to the inventory transactions history area, so like when you're, I'll show it to you, but when you're on, like let's say you're an item inquiry and you're looking at either a component item or a finished good item, and you click on the transactions tab, there's 2 for work order there. There's WR for work order receipts for the finished good and WI for the work order issues for the components. And standard mass just throws the transaction journal number along with that code. And so what we'll do is we'll put the actual work order number out there so that you can reference that component. For example, that component item was on that work order number, or that finished good was made on that work order number. Kind of in the same way that when you post an invoice through, that the SO code in transactions always shows the invoice number. So it's kind of a lot more detail, and a lot of people really like that feature. Standard mass only shows, you have a choice to turn on work order or not turn on work order for availability. And almost everybody wants the components that are required for work order to decrease quantity available, but most don't want the on work order to increase the supply side, just like most people don't like on PO to increase the supply side of quantity available. So we separate the 2 so that they can be separated. Okay, The tiered item cost completion method. This is a little complex, so I'm going to get a little winded here in explaining it. But if you've ever had a time where say your finished good is either FIFO or lot, it's a tiered item. So when it's a tiered type item versus average cost or standard cost, it uses the rolled up costs of all the components to create its unit cost when it's being completed. And what we've seen in mass is, in stock mass, is when let's say you've issued into WIP 50% of your labor and 40% of your materials, and you want to make, let's say you were planning to make 10 of these finished goods, and you're gonna only make 4 now, so you're gonna make 4 of 10. It's going to take, standard mass is going to take 40%, which is 4 of 10, of what's in WIP. But WIP only has 50% of the labor and 40% of the material. So standard mass is assuming that you've already posted everything in the WIP. So what happens is it undervalues your unit cost on that first go-round. And then later it will overvalue your unit cost when, let's say, you post the other 50% of your labor into WIP and the other 60% of your materials. And let's say there's some outside processing and there's some overhead and burden that goes in with that too. So you really get all of these, invalid, I should say, finished good unit costs that are posting out in the inventory. And so, there's a couple ways to get around that. With standard mass, you can do the planned cost completion method, and then that just takes a leveled planned cost. But a lot of people don't want to use that. They want to use actual cost. But in the time that they're doing partials, then they would like to use so-called planned costs. So what we do is we allow you a couple different ways of doing it. We allow what's called budgeted, which is like planned. So if, for example, let's say you're going to post, you're going to do 10 of 10 and you've already posted everything in the WIP, and so you want to take the actual costs and have those actual costs rolled up into the finished goods unit cost. So we do that, whether you do, when you set it at budgeted. But if you do a partial, then we're going to take what the planned cost would be. So then we're going to adjust it into a manufacturing variance account as we post the finished good inventory, because we're flushing WIP every time we go through this exercise. So that's kind of what budgeted does. So budgeted kind of allows you to use actual costs and also basically use planned when you need to use planned, so that you don't get really crazy finished good unit costs posted out there. If you do it at standard cost, it just looks at the inventory master files, standard cost value, and posts it at standard. So even though it's a FIFO item or a lot item, serial item, whatever it is, it'll post it at standard cost if you like it to post it at standard cost. And for that, it's going to post to the manufacturing variance account, just like normal standard cost finished good item processing does. So once again, this came about, with WOScan and a lot of the clients that have WOScan and have our manufacturing automation add-on, that they really wanted to be able to control their finished good unit costs in a better manner. All right. Standard mass, if you have MRP installed in your system, it basically turns off this explode subassemblies, because they want you to process with MRP. They want you to do subassembly processing with MRP installed. But a lot of people still don't want to do that. They want to basically use MRP just for their componentries and really just use it for purchasing. And they really want to explode out all their subassemblies to the component level at, when they're generating work orders. So basically, we've added another flag to basically allow us to still choose it. We've got some programming when the work orders are being exploded out when you're entering them. So anyways, that's kind of this extra flag that we have here. Let's see here. A couple other features that we have that it might be easier for me just to go into and start showing you. I'm going to come back here to this added lead time. That's for the make to order, and all of this entry right here and some of the scheduled methods are basically for make to order. So why don't I go ahead while I continue on the path of the efficiency base and go ahead and get out of here and just take you right into work order entry. Okay. So in work order entry, I can create a work order in released mode. As I was telling you, I can go ahead and just choose a quantity. And then with standard mass, usually you have to click on operations, click on materials. Here's my component not available warning. So it's going to stop at every item where you don't have enough available quantity and basically give you the item and the on-hand, what's allocated, the availability number, and what's required for this work order. Since my demo data has got a lot of testing here, it's probably going to stop at every one. And then standard mass really requires you to come out here and schedule it and accept the schedule. Okay, but you can see I've got new buttons down here too. So I have an auto finish button, a quick print button, and a build availability button. So let me show you a little of that. So if you wanted to see the auto finish, we can basically, to make it a really simple process of entering a work order, enter it as released, come in and put a quantity in, and then hit auto finish. That basically takes the clicking of the operations and the scheduling away to make it a little faster for you. So it just basically does it for you. The other thing I let you do, as long as you haven't processed any transactions, you haven't posted any materials or labor or outside processing, I allow you to delete a released work order, whereas standard mass requires you just to close it out. It doesn't let you delete it released. And that's also in the case that you want to set it up as firm plan first and then released. So just as long as nothing's been posted to it, I'll go ahead and let you delete that work order. And once again, you can have the default set to release or firm plan. You can change it at any time back to firm plan and keep processing through. So it's just up to you how you want to utilize the status field. Okay. Another thing that we offer is we offer the Traveler Quick Print right from work order entry instead of having to go to the Traveler. So you basically can come out here, go right to the Quick Print, and it will go ahead and just print that one. It will select it and print just that one. So you have that option right in here. The build availability is part of the make to order. It's on the regular menu. It's also in here. And it's also in the sales order lines when an order taker is taking it, that they can actually go out there and click on build availability so that they can basically come out here. I'll click on summarize right now, but it will basically, which is really nice in sales order entry, and I'll show you that when we get there. But it basically gives you the board, tells you you're building 25. It tells you, you've got a yield percentage, so you will be producing 26. Tells you what you have on hand currently, and what's out there on supply, what's demanded, and what's my availability. It gives you some good detail on your components that are involved in terms of what's required and what you have on hand allocated, available, and short. If you have some things that are short and you have things on purchase order already, then you'd be able to drill down on some of these things. Like this says I have 58,993. I could drill down here and see that these POs have these promise dates with these quantities and when they're coming in. We also give you some available to promise information. So if you wanted to, if you were in sales order entry and you're talking to the customer and you wanted to click on this button, you'd be able to basically tell them, okay, and it's based on what you want to consider as your choice of availability. I mean, if you wanted to steal some that are already on demand from other orders, and you really wanted to give them to the guy, I mean, you do have enough. You do have 77 on hand, so if it's quantity on hand based, you got enough. If it's availability based, you don't have enough. If it's build based, you do have enough because the supply side is 1185. I let you drill down to inventory inquiry so you can see in here. This one's a little odd because I have some on PO, which I really wouldn't have. It's just the demo data. This is kind of a sub-assembly. But really, it's the on work order. So I have enough on supply that I could really promise it. And if I wanted to look at what's out there in the future, I could click here, and it could tell me, and you could see here kind of the shortages here line up with here. It tells me what POs these are all coming on, so I could scroll down. And then it tells me who the vendors are and what the lead time and the expected dates that I could possibly get some of this in. So it's just giving you a little bit more info. And we are planning as an add-on to do available to promise calculation for the future so that, if I put a bigger number in here, let's say I wanted 1,000, then, it'll tell you, obviously I don't have enough, but what we'd like to do is basically say, if you clicked on here, what date could I actually promise that to? And that would then entail us knowing when I could receive in all the PO componentries that I need to make it, because it's now going to be component-based availability. And then what are the lead times of those vendors if I have to put new POs out there to get that there, and then when all the goods come in, how long is it going to take it to get through that routing of time to actually be able to have the finished goods ready to ship to the customer. So we've got this as an add-on to the available to promise. Now let me just show you a few other of the efficiencies that we have. So both on the picking sheet and the Traveler, we have a feature to let you pick indiscrete work orders. So instead of always having to choose the range, you could come in here and say, I want this one, I want that one, and I want this one, say example. And it selects them automatically so you don't have to click on the select button, and it goes out there and just prints those three. So there's 17, there's 23, and there's 39. So once again, we have that feature on both the pick sheet and the Traveler, and we call it box, which means we allow you to from a box enter a bunch of different indiscrete work orders instead of having to do the range. Okay. Just real quick while I'm here, let me go ahead and show you some of the detail for the transactions, because I did speak about it. So if I was going to look here and go to transactions, you'll see standard mass does it this way, where this is a work order issue, and that's the journal number, which really doesn't mean much to me. But if I go for all dates, you'll see now down here this work order receipt or this work order issue. Those are actual work order numbers now that are built into the transaction number, which gives you a little bit more detail. Oops, I didn't want to go in there. Okay. We have a new feature called the work order dashboard, which is a really nice launching pad to allow you to manage or view all your work orders that you want to view and drill down into them respectively. So in here, I could just basically say refresh and get them all. So now I'm looking at, based on this selection criteria and based on all firm planned and released and closed and everything, I can sort on any of these columns by clicking on it. So I could say, okay, let's sort on statuses. These are my closed. Here's my firm plans. Here's my releases. Let me take a look at scheduled release dates. Okay, here's scheduled release date in 2014. I'm doing it in inverse order. And once again, you could start, limiting it. You could say, I want to just look at the board 16s. I want to look at schedule release dates that are after, I don't know, let's pick a day. How about July 1st, since I've got some old data here. And say refresh. Well, that didn't work very good. How about all? And refresh. Okay. So I only have, okay, and refresh. Okay, well, I've got something that's hanging it up here because I do have release dates after that. What if I just go ahead and just look at releases? Okay, here are just my releases, and then I want to look at releases that are, oh, you know what? I made it equal to. That was my problem. Sorry, guys. If you say greater than, I think we would be in better shape because equal to has to equal that day. Oh, 2014. Sorry. Oops. Okay. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. So here's July 1st and released onlys. So once again, you can get through this list and sort it in any order that you like, and then start drilling down from there. So going over here to our side for the drill downs, we could drill down into the materials, the operations, the transactions. We can drill down into work order inquiry in case we'd like to still see this information where it shows the standard, the actual, and the variance, because we still like seeing that. We can actually drill right to the traveler if you like and print the traveler. If it's a make to order, you can drill into the sales order and see the sales order information. You can always drill into the inventory information and see that detail. And then once again, you know, we can go ahead and drill into the materials. And here are the materials. And once again, I try to give you a little more information than what the other screens did, because the work order inquiry showed you some detail that the work order entry didn't show you. But then the work order entry had some stuff that the work order inquiry did. And then there was some data behind the scenes in the files that wasn't showing on either of the screens. So I tried to give you as much as possible. And once again, from here you can drill back down into inventory on all your component levels. So it's just a real nice feature of drilling. In the operations, you could drill down in operations. I'm going to start talking next about our status tracking that we've added onto the system. But basically, you know, you can drill into all of this information, and you can move some of these columns around. I do believe we made it so that you can go into customizer right here and basically decide, you know, which columns you want in which order, or hide columns. So you have that ability also. And then once again, you know, with the scheduling, you know, you can drill. Well, sorry about that. Some of my demo data, I've got some issues here. Let's see if I can go back in there. But anyways, you could drill into the scheduling, and then I'll show you the new scheduling dashboard that we've added on too. So before I start going right into the statuses, basically we track them on the work order header as the last status that was used. So whatever the last operation, last labor status that was posted to it, it'll go ahead and show it here. It'll also show it in the operation based on each of the operation lines. So each operation line can have its own status also. So to jump right into the statuses, we've set up an area for you to enter your own status codes and maintain your own status codes. So for me, for testing, I just kind of created some dummy ones. Materials have been put into WIP. Things are in plating or out from plating, or in painting, out from plating, ready for packaging, you know, in heat treating. You know, whatever you want to come up with, you can come up with your own list. And then these are used as your processing labor transactions. So you can use them as you go through and process a labor transaction, and then that labor transaction will then show up as you show up in the lines, so to speak. So if I go out here and I grab maybe one of these new work orders I just created and put it on a step, and I can grab a status. Say materials are going into WIP. Assume that was my batch. Okay. Okay, so now if I would go back into that work order, you would see it. I think I did it on this work order. Yeah, so I have the status here. The status is in work order inquiry and 95365. So it should also show on the work order dashboard. So if I came back to the dashboard, did a refresh, sorted by here, and there you see it there. And if I would go to the operations, you see it there also. So once again, it's a way of tracking statuses as they go through. And I've got plans with Joe Basaha that he'll be handing those off to me from his WO Scan product, so that those will flow through good there also. And then when I get to our outside processing add-on, when POs are auto-generated, you could have the status automatically assigned right then when the PO gets generated for the outside processing vendor. And then when the receipt of goods come in from that vendor, receipt invoice, we can go ahead and change the status at that time from the PO update into the work order too. So there's a ways of controlling both of those in there also. Okay, I can show you real quick the auto close feature. Pretty straightforward. You come, you do a completion, you choose a work order you want to complete. Let's say it's one of the newer ones that I just did. So I made 5 of these, so I'll complete 5. I'll say yes to close it. And the one thing I didn't anticipate is I'm going to have some of these. Okay. Labor should be okay, and material issue. This one, I might not have enough lots, so let's go ahead and just get rid of that. Okay. And go ahead and update that. Okay, 95364. And I'll just skip the daily transaction register. And then 95364 should be closed. As long as all my demo data is good. And there it is. So I basically completed it and closed it all in one fell swoop. And I could go look at it here. You'll notice the materials are a little short because I took that lotted item out of there. So I fell short on that. But once again, it can show you with the efficiency base that I can enter a work order in released mode. I can make it back flushed. I can then, when it's time to complete it, I can complete it and close it and really process work orders a lot faster and more efficient. One of the other features that's not used a lot but still part of the work order efficiency base is the auto-generate transactions. We do have a few people using this still where they really like to just, instead of having it back flush and do it at the completion time, they like to be able to come in here and just either do labors, materials, or both. They can basically just add a work order here, So let's say we do 365, quantity of 5. You can choose a crew or an employee, and it'll basically prompt you. So if this was a back flushing order, it's going to prompt you if you want to close it. I'll go ahead and say no. And that basically right there created a new transaction for me. So if you want to auto-generate labor or materials in that fashion, we allow you to. And you'll see here that I just created the labor for 365, and I created the materials for 365, and you see I have that lot I need to distribute. And then I'll go ahead and get rid of that line. And then here's the completion that I'm doing for 5. I actually planned a lot more, but I'll go ahead and delete this entry. But once again, it's another one of our efficiency pieces that you can work with. Okay, I do believe I'm done with talking about the efficiency base. We have a few add-ons that we're going to be adding soon. We've done a custom job for someone for routing revisions so that the routings will actually have revision numbers, and you'll be able to process routing revisions in a similar fashion as you do bill of material revisions, maintain multiple revisions on them, and assign them. We just need to move that into the base product, but we have done that. And then we're going to also do bill of material on the fly handling and routing on the fly handling, so that if you're in the middle of entering a work order and you want to actually just key in the materials in, we'll prompt you and say, would you like to add a new bill of materials? Or the same goes with the routing. If you want to add the operations on the fly, do you want to actually create a routing on the fly? We've had requests for that, so that that's going to be some new add-ons that we're going to add down the road. Okay, Brandy, I'm done with work order efficiency base. Do you guys have any questions before I go right into make to order?
I don't have any questions. This is Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. Okay. All right. So why don't we go right into make to order? So basically, when we find people buying this enhancement, by the way, it's generally, most of the time, it's for the make to order. People really, there's a lot of, shops out there that are make to order shops, or they're a combination of make to order and make to stock. So, we find that, a lot of people are buying the enhancement for that reason. So, just thought I would like to throw that in there. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can auto-generate work orders from sales orders right here. We call this our batch mode. Or you can auto-generate work orders right from within the sales order line. We've got a new feature that's just about ready to be added into the product that one of our clients paid for, that we decided to share on the development with them, and that's to auto-generate work orders from projections. And what that'll be is people that like to do scheduling off-site and want to do the scheduling on a spreadsheet. We've worked it out where if you want to just give us a CSV file and you fill in the columns in the manner that we would like, in terms of give us the item, give us the quantity, and if you want to give us a required date or any bill options or order date or even a bill revision, we'll go ahead and auto-generate the work orders from your spreadsheet. So those are really going to be the 3 ways that you can do it. So, so once again, I'll go ahead and go through that with you. Okay, so here you could basically put a range of orders in, or a range of order dates or ship dates, however you want to select it. We've got our defaults from the work order options screen that tell us that we like to do backflush and we like to auto-release the order. Okay, I have a setting out there in options whether I want to do backward scheduling or forward scheduling. This is one of the newer features. We usually would do backward scheduling because we would look at the sales orders promise date and then go backwards from there. But if you like, we can go forward scheduling and basically say, as of today, release it when you create the work order, and then schedule it forward. So it's up to you what you want your setting as. And then there's a couple additional features. Would you like us to create sub-assemblies off those finished good work orders? And or would you like us to summarize like items? So summarizing like items is basically going to take a look at the range of orders that we're pushing through here and summarize those like items. So say on one sales order I need 50, on another sales order I need 25, on another sales order I need 10. So I'll add all those up and I'll make, instead of make to order of 50, 25, and 10 on 3 separate work orders, I'm going to make one work order for 85, and it's going to be now make to inventory instead of make to stock. Or I'm sorry, instead of make to order. So instead of making 3 separate work orders for those individual sales orders and tying them together, we'll go ahead and make to inventory. And then once again, the sub-assemblies go off of what the order is. So if I came out here and did, let's say I'm going to do 36 and 37. I think they're available for me. So if I go 36 and 37, and I want to create sub-assemblies. We'll use that as an example. So it's going to go out there and make the orders. It's going to give you a little printout to show you what you actually made. And you will see, okay, for work order 36, it was a make to order there. I went ahead and made the board. There's a make to work order after that. This board is a sub-assembly of the board -16, okay? And then this work order is a sub-assembly, this memory board is a sub-assembly of that. So it's a two-level deep build, okay? And then the next sales order, I'm actually selling the sub-assembly, so I only go one level deep, and so forth. And you can see how it lays them all out with, you know, this work order is a make-to-work order of the work order above it, and this work order is a make-to-work order of that one above it. So why don't we just go take a look at these right now so you can see what we did, 369 to 378. So if you come out here and look, you will see that 369 I made for sales order 36. I made 7. And if I would actually go into sales order at the same time, you will see the same detail. Okay, so here you'll see that I now link the work order to the sales order, so I can't make it a second time. So we do that, and we link them together. So 95369, and then this one here was 95372. So now if I bring back this screen, okay, so you'll see 95369 right here. Okay, this is a field for the components so that you still know what sales order. So if I go to the next one, you'll see that it's a make-to-work order for the one above it, but it was for sales order 36 because this board falls within this board. In other words, if I would go out here and do a build availability inquiry, you would see that this board falls right there, right? And then if I really would go indented, you would see then this board, this memory board falls within this board. This is actually a phantom build, that's why it doesn't show up, but you could see kind of the flow of it. So, so anyways, so we're making it for this one. And then going forward again, that I have the memory board, which is being made for the other one. And each of these, based on their dates, the schedule release date and the due date, this due date is 10/8, so I'm going to release it on 9/27. The prior one needed a little more days. The due date's 10/8. And you'll see, since the main bill was, this is the main finished good bill, since it had a schedule release date of 10/8, my make-to-work orders needed to have due dates of 10/8 so that it could deliver on the upper level bill. And then once again, if I drill to the next, if I go to 95372, you will see that 72 now is still for sales order 36, and it's that board, and its quantity is 9. And then once again, you'll see the work orders that are required for that. And we can go to the next one, so to speak. Now, while I'm in here, I could go ahead and show you a couple things. So if I was going to do it from within here, I could just go ahead and bring it in here. Once again, I have that build availability that I could drill down in, and it will go ahead and say, here's the 5, here's what I have available to make the 5, here's where I fall short. When I get to the auto-generate POs, I can actually auto-generate POs right from here to fulfill this order. I could go ahead right here and click on this button here to create the work order. It'll prompt me if I want to create sub-assemblies. This is an option. You don't have to get prompted. You can either just create them automatically, or you don't do sub-assembly processing, so it doesn't ask you and doesn't create them. I'll just say no. And then it went out there and it created work order 95379. So it just depends on where you want to create it from. You want to create it from here, or you want to create it from another place. Another thing that we do is we set up a UDF for you guys to use. If you want to use a UDF called make-to, and you put in the word order, then I will only create work orders for items that are make-to-order items. If the item is considered make-to-stock, or it has some other value in here that I won't recognize except order, then it won't make it. One of the requirements to auto-generate work orders is the procurement has to be make, and I have to have a routing. And routings are usually always in the bill of material. But if for some reason you don't want to use a bill of material and you're just going to enter, or you're going to scan in your materials as work orders get processed, because every make for this one customer is unique and doesn't require a standard bill of material, then I would need a routing, some default routing, at least put in the item master file so that I can get at it. But generally speaking, we read the procurement here. It's got to be made, can't be buy or subcontract. And then you don't have to use this, but if you want to use this, you can. And if you do, then I'll look at it. So like, for example, you'll notice that this is make to order. This is make to stock. So I've got some sales orders out here that if I go backwards, you'll see that they were skipped. The lines didn't seem like they were updating correctly there. See right here, 20. 20 didn't do a make to work order because it doesn't have the make to setting. So even if you created that UDF make to and you left it blank, I'd probably still do a make to order. I need a value. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the programming made sure there had to be a value here. So just because you set it up and you left them all blank, I'll still do a make to order on it. It's until you set values to it that I start deciding to mess around with it. So like here for this battery, it's not applicable because it's a component item. So we just need some kind of value in there. Now, one other thing that we do also is we allow you to have lead times. And I was showing you in options that you can have lead times if you like. Now, from the options area, those are the defaults if you didn't want to do them by individual items. So if you just said, hey, every work order I make in the system, I want to add an additional lead time of 7 days. So whatever the routing comes to, add an extra 7 days. But what I allow you to do is either have an addition to it, or you can actually have an override on it. So it's just up to you with which way you'd rather do it if you want to use it. And each item can be different. So basically, you can say, I'm going to use the item as the lead time, or I'm going to go off a default vendor I'm going to set up as the primary vendor, and let's use his lead time that's set up for that. So we can do it that way too. But usually it's by item, and then it's either an add or an override. So an add, in this case, I'd add 3 days to the end of every routing. If it's an override, it's going to just use that amount. And I've seen people want to use the override when they built all their times in the operation codes and the routings, and they just say, gosh, it's all messed up. I don't want to go back in there and fix all my routings and my operation codes and all that stuff. So I just know to make this one item takes 45 days to get through the system. So no matter how much quantity I'm making, I can do it in 45 days. So just make the override on this one item 45 days. So that's why you'll have an override at times. So once again, this adds to it. And then also, every individual item, you could decide whether you want to do backward scheduling or forward scheduling on it. So this is the default, and then as the system is auto-generating the work orders, it can go through that. And once again, here's the prompting if you want to be prompted for sub-assemblies from a sales order or not. This is a new feature. Haven't implemented it completely, but it's the replenishment question. I didn't go through that in detail. Why don't I go through that now? It only is for when you're auto-generating work orders from sales orders in this batch mode. It doesn't, replenishment handling doesn't work when you're in sales order lines, because in sales order lines you're really doing a true make to order, because you're saying make a work order for this individual sales order line. Whereas if you want to do replenishment handling, I have it dimmed out here. Now, only when you choose summarize like items do I let you do finished good replenishment handling, because once again, now we're doing make to inventory and not making to individual sales order lines. So in this case now, I'll look at your replenishment handling. And what that means is that, so in my example, I had 3 sales orders of 50, 25, and 10, so a quantity of 85. I can go ahead and do a make to inventory of 85, but what if there's 25 on the shelf, right? So then really I only need to make 60 because you already have 25 available, for example. Or what if you've got a reorder point of 100 and I still need these 85 and currently you have available 0? Well, then the system's going to want to make 100 to get you to the reorder point, and then the extra 85. So it's going to want to make 185. And then you know how the whole replenishment methodologies work, whether you do it based on reorder point or you do it on economic order quantity or max stock levels, whether you've got minimums or maximums. We look at all of that when we look at the replenishment handling. So we go ahead and auto-generate the work orders for that, and then we put some information out there. And the same thing goes for if you go create subassembly. Do you want subassembly replenishment handling? And the same methodologies go through. How much do you have available? Do you have anything set in the reorder points or mins or maxes? What's your methodology you use? And then we follow it in that manner. And then for that, we go ahead and list that on the report. So, for example, if I would go into the work order and let's say I'm going to just go ahead and delete some of these released work orders that we created to free up some space, so free up that I can go ahead and auto-generate again. I wanted to get 69 here, and then I'll be good to go. So I'm almost there. Okay. All right, so that freed those up. It removed the links off of the sales order, so no longer have those got make to orders on them. So if I go ahead and go here and say I want to do, I think it was 36 and 37. And then if I say summarize like items and finish good replenishment handling, I'll just do those two for now for you to see it. And you'll see what we do is now they're make to inventory, and we put a little information out here so that you can see what we ended up doing. And you'll see that there's so much available. Here was the reorder point. So the reorder quantity was 64. It looks like this one's an economic order quantity type of methodology is 50. So the replenishment quantity was 100. So we're going to make 100 here. So I'd have to put my thinking cap on why it would do it again. But I think it wants to make it in quantities of multiples of 50 because that's the replenishment quantity. So since I really need only 64, but I'm going to make 50, and it makes more sense to make an extra 50. So to get this, so I'm really going to make 100. And then on this one, I have 291 available. Here's my reorder point. Here's my reorder quantity. Here's my max on hand. Here's my minimum on hand. And so this must be max quantity type detail. So on this board here, it says my replenishment quantity is 709 that it's going to make. So not sure how this, I think it took the minimum that I need to always have because I don't have enough, and then the reorder point of 209. I guess 209 and 291 gets you to 500. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to get me back to the 500 and then get me the 209 I need to do the make to order on these. And then you'll see those out there. And when you see those out there, so you'll see here's the 709, here's the 100, and then if I go back to the sales order, you're going to see that they don't have the work orders assigned to them. They now have what we call summed. So they've been summarized. So these all have been summarized. And one of our new features we're coming out with is we're going to give you a little lookup to see of the summarized, which work orders did they entail. So you can click on each of these and see which work orders they got summarized to. We also have a new feature coming out called max lot size handling that will also do that same thing, but just in the inverse order. And if you're familiar with the max lot size, in bill of materials, they have a max lot size record. And when you're in work order, it'll warn you, stock mass warns you that you're creating work order over the max lot size and do you want to continue. So what we'll do is it's actually just needing to be tested and finalized and added, so it's pretty much done. But you'll have an option. Do you want to utilize the max lot size in our WHOOP options area? And then if you do, then what we'll do is if you're creating a work order, for example, for let's say you've got a sales order and you want to sell 1,000 of this board, we're gonna generate 5 work orders of 200 each and utilize the max lot size. And then the sub-assemblies would come off of those utilizing those max lot size. So we would never create a work order over the max lot size. And for that, we're going to put in the sales order screen max lot, and we're going to list the work orders that were created for that one sales order line. So we would have 5 work orders for that one sales order to be able to do the max lot size. Okay. That is the make-to-order stuff. And once again, we'll be having some new stuff probably coming out in the next 2 weeks because it's really close to being finalized. Okay, so I'm ready to go into outside processing. Did anybody want to ask a question? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Brandy, are you still there?
I'm here, and there's nothing in the box.
Okay. Okay, so in outside processing, what we've done is we've tied your work centers, your outside processing work centers with vendors now. So that way we can auto-generate the purchase orders for you, and we can tie that purchase order into your work order and also show that purchase order detail on your traveler. So just a little bit more of a tie-in with it. And then with the labor code, the labor status tracking, you can utilize that a lot more effectively and maybe not always feel like you have to transfer the inventory out of your warehouse into your vendor's warehouse on your system and then have to transfer the quantities back. You could maybe just track that with a status, a labor status, instead of always having to move the stuff around. So what we've done is, once again, if this is a standard checkbox field, so in standard math you have the outside processing checkbox. If you have this checked, we give you a new button called vendors. In vendors, you could set up multiple vendors. You could make one a default, but you can basically utilize multiple vendors. For this vendor here, this electronic supply, it's going to get a little confusing here what I've done, but I wanted to show, this is, when the PO gets generated, it goes into heat treating, and when the receiving goods comes back, it goes back from heat treating, okay? You could drill down in the details. I'd let you enter all the different item type codes. Regular items, this is a special item, miscellaneous charges, miscellaneous items, comment codes. You can enter whatever you like in here. You can decide, is it for all operations or for a specific operation for this work center. And then you could basically, for regular items and special items, miscellaneous items, you can put in quantities and costs and extensions. You can override, put your own description in here. You can tell us, do you want us to use the item description when it's auto-generating the PO line? Do you want to use the extended step descriptions, which has got all the descriptive detail that's being done on that step? So if it's going into heat treating, you might have all these instructions. So most people like to use the step description to come in there. You could use both. And then do you want to use the finished good quantity? So like, let's say the work order you're creating at the time is you're making quantity of 10. So then you want to take that quantity of 10 and multiply it by this, and then have it expand out with the extension appropriately. So in other words, is this just a fixed quantity of 1 no matter how many your finished goods you're making, or should we multiply it through? So this is kind of one example, a very simple example. If you look at this one, you'll see that I showed you can enter all of them in terms of regular items, or and you can choose operation codes, or however you'd like to do it. But once again, this is just used to help you auto-generate the PO for outside processing. So here's our link. The other thing that we do in work order, as we're making work orders, is we're color coding the outside processing operation lines for you now. So that when I go out here, you'll notice that green means that a PO hasn't been created yet for this outside processing line. Blue means the PO's been created, but it's in process. And red means it's completed. So once again, you can have a lot of different outside processing lines here. The different color coordinations tell you kind of where they are in the steps. And then at any time, you can drill down to that at this level here. So we have a button to drill down to outside processing, and also, the scheduling, which I'll show you here in a minute. But you can basically drill down in here. In blue shows the default, but why don't I choose him? I could come out here and say, I need this by the 31st, and then I can go out here and generate the purchase order. So it's going to go out there and generate the purchase order for me. I think I have a little bit of a bug out here. I'm sorry, guys. I might have had this before, too. Might not be able, might have to show this to you in a different area here. Let me see if I can go into a older work order. I might have some detail out there. Yeah, I'm sorry. The programmers are probably in here messing around with something and it got kind of messed up. I wanted to show you this, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop out of here and go into here and still show this to you. Okay. Basically, it just goes out there, generates the PO for you. Here's some of the tests that we're running it through. So it shows you some of the detail. If you look at all of these, you'll see that it's tied to the work order. So when you scroll down, here's the work order, here's the step. It tells you it's an outside processing. And it basically made it. So at any given time, if let's say I get out, I come back in, you'll see now it's a blue line instead of a green line. And then at any time while I'm in here, I can actually drill down and take a look at the PO. And then as receipts come through, the receipts will also get listed in this box too. So you can have multiple receipts. You can even have multiple POs. And you can drill down here at any time to review that information. And once again, you can see the status is test because I think the programmer here had that structured as a test. So if I would go look at the dashboard, it should be out there on the dashboard too. So it should be this one, right? Don't see it. I think this is the one I did, testing status. Well, the whole key is there is to tie the two together. And then when they're tied together, then we would be able to view the stuff in the picking sheet. And I don't think that, I'm sorry, in the Traveler. And I don't think that I have a Traveler I set up in this area for you to look at. But I set one up myself. It's all crystal-based, so you could do it yourself too. But I went ahead and I'm not sure I put it in here. So let's see. No, I didn't put it on this form. I just added an extra box down here with the PO information, the items, and all the information that would come with it. So, and then one of the new things that we've done, and we've already added it in, I'm not demoing it to you, but you can auto-generate POs from outside work centers. So you can actually come out here, instead of doing them one at a time, let's say your vendor comes in once a week, so you'd want to come out here and say, okay, if he comes in once a week, then let me come out here and for my outside processing work center, and then select all the work orders that he's going to come in and pick up. And so he's going to come in and pick up all of these. So from here, I can go ahead and generate, we only allow you here to modify the required date, but it's going to go ahead and generate all of these work orders for him to come pick up and do outside processing on. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and move these all up and clear them. But this is something I don't have in my demo system to show you yet because we did this as a custom job for someone and we're going to just add it in. Once again, I wanted to show you the auto-generate work orders from projections. This is another new feature that we're adding into. I'm really sorry about that I can't show you the full scope of it, but that is basically the tie-in between the two so that you can have a better tie between the vendor, the outside processor, and the work order itself. Actually, I do have it here. We did add it to it already. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this because I should be able to see some more detail here. Okay. Let's say I don't want all of these. Let's just say I want 36 and 37. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. I think it's too many to remove. Maybe I should have changed my range. Okay, so I only have, I left a few extra. Okay, I'll go ahead and move those down. Okay, 36, 37, 41, 42, 90, and 98. I'll go ahead and generate those. Once again, I could change the required dates on some of these. I could say, okay, this one really needs to be the 21st. This one needs to be the 22nd, and so forth. And then I can go ahead and generate the POs right here. We have a new feature also if you want to see what we generated automatically. We kind of lay it all out here so you can see here I generated POs and I can drill down to the POs from my auto-generated list. So I can see what I did. So here's the heat treat that I generated. And I generated this for $95099. Well, let's go back into 950. I think it was 95036. We should have generated a PO for that, right? I didn't type that right there. Right here. Okay, so here's the PO I did. And you could drill down into it once again this way, since I was having problems generating it the other way. And then if I do the quick print, and I change my form to outside processing, here's kind of what I show you. I can show you the form itself because you guys are crystal report right people. But all I did was I added a little box down here. After whatever step I had, I added a box, and I basically showed that here's my item, and here's the quantities and what I've received or invoiced yet, and that type of information. So I give you information that you can set up here in terms of step description, extended description, stuff like that. So it's up to you how you want it. If you want to use my form, you can. And once again, I should have had in heat treating, right? And so 95036, I should see in the dashboard that information in heat treating. Okay, that's outside processing. The next thing I was going to show you is the auto-generate purchase orders add-on. And basically, the auto-generate purchase orders add-on, we let you do it in a few different areas. Once again, wherever the build availability is, if you wanted to do it there, we'll let you do it there. So if I'm on a sales order line and I'm saying, I need 100 of these, I'd go ahead and look at the componentry. You can see I've already got some on order out there, but I'm going to fall short on some of these. Like you can see here, I need 1715, and I've already got 1,082 on PO. So do I want to add them to a PO? So for this CPU here, I should have another add-on of another 600 something, right? Whatever. We'll see what it is. 633. Okay. So to do the auto-generate POs, you got to have a primary vendor assigned. So a primary vendor has to be assigned to the item so that we can see what it is. And we'll go ahead and we'll auto-generate it in this fashion from build availability if you'd rather do it there. Okay. And once again, we have the two screens that we work with, the selection screen area and then the move down and then the generation area. And if you don't want them, you can move some back up. So like you could say, well, I really want to move, these back up. So move those back up and only work with these. Say you're only interested in purchasing these. And then let's say, I know that this vendor will give me a better price if I'm buying 633. So I could go ahead and this is my edit button, so I can edit any of these fields. And I can come in here, and each of these fields, as I click on each of them, you get updated information in terms of your replenishment detail and your availability detail. And once again, I let you override it. So you could say, I know this, he'll give it to me for $100 a piece. So I can go ahead and change that. And so it will generate the PO for that. So once again, I let you edit a little bit of the information. You can then decide what you want to select and not select. So, if you don't want some of these selected, you can say, you know what, I really just want to order that one CPU, so you can move these up and out of the way. And I'll go through this screen in more detail because this is just off the main menu also, but I'm doing it from within the build availability area. But once again, you can then go generate a PO for this one item here, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of it, pretend like I just went to lunch. I wanted to show you this is user-based. So if I go back into auto-generate POs from inventory, it'll remember where I left off. So I can come back in here later and clear some of these off. This is a little clear button here. You could select all, you could unselect all, you could clear this information. Things that didn't go through, this is like an exception log that'll tell you, well, why didn't it get selected? It'll tell you that was already selected on a prior work order run, or it'll give you some detailed information why your selections aren't going through. So once again, I can move this back up, I could clear it, and I could be done with it. So I could not make them if I don't want. But the different areas that we auto-generate POs for, as I showed you, we already will do auto-generate POs for outside work centers for the outside processing. But we'll also allow you to auto-generate POs from work orders. So if you like, you could actually come out here and do it for specific work orders. So you could say, so this is kind of like the opposite of make to order from making work orders from sales orders. You could actually create POs from work orders specific and link the two together. So you don't look at availability or anything. You could just come out here and say, for 38, I want to generate this information and go ahead and move it down. And then for 40, I want to auto-generate. Okay, and then it only came up with one instead of the others. And so I could show you the log feature. I do believe I left the battery off on the other one. Yeah. So the other ones were already generated on an earlier PO when I did a demo. So once it links it, you can't generate them again for the same PO. But once again, this all works in the same fashion as auto-generate POs from inventory, except it's generating them for specific work orders. So at any time, you can come down here and edit your values in terms of your quantity, unit, and extension, and vendor. You can change your vendor if you like. You can do similar in the sense that you can move back up the battery and just generate these. And it just generated POs for those. And once again, we could go see what we generated out in our activity log. And it's telling you it generated for work orders. So it did 3. It's probably because the primary vendor is different from each one. So it generated this screw. Now, these aren't generating for work orders like you would for outside processing. So these won't have any links because this is actually something that you're going to receive in the inventory, and then you're going to do your standard material issue out. It's not tying them together, so I just want to clarify that point. Now, one of the other new features that we've added is that when you auto-generate POs from inventory, you can generate them based on different availability and demand source requirements. So we give you a wide range of selections along with your category codes. And then also you could actually, like you say, hey, I only want to have my demand sources through, 12/31/2013, or the same thing for the work order. I only want to look through, the demand sources that are on those work orders. So, and then I look at any UDFs that you added to the inventory master file screen as also selection criteria. So you can do it based on, different ways. So in other words, you can do component searching, which means it's looking at only the component lines and only the components that are on sales order or the components that are on the work orders when it's deciding what to select. Or you could do it based on a bill of material search where you can enter like a finished good bill of material and say select, and then it'll explode that bill of material all the way out to its lowest levels of components and fill that in here. Now that's one of the newer features that I can't show you in this demo mode, but I can show it to you in the other. But basically it's giving you different ways that you can generate the components that you want to see that are available. And once again, it's only going to bring up requirements based on what your replenishment handling has already structured, based on reorder point, economic order quantity, max stock levels, what are your mins and your maxes, what are your reorder point quantities, so it's looking at all of that when it's going to tell you the quantity required that you need to make for the PO. So if I was going to come in here and say, let me make some for the part, it's giving me this. All these items fall under product line part. So, I can go ahead and clear them all and say, let's only work with the screws right now. So we'll go ahead and move the screws down. I'll go edit it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and buy from these 2 primary vendors. Do I want to change the vendor? Change the vendor to someone else. I could take a look at what my economic reorder mins and maxes are. It's telling me that I need to order 117. You could see, what I have on hand and what the demands are. So I think that's just a simple availability calculation of 117. And once again, then I can generate the POs for those. Okay, that's auto-generate POs. We do plan on adding to this as a future add-on the MRP projections, so that if you want MRP projections to be considered demand and have that reduced down availability, we were going to add that in here also so that you can utilize that. Okay, let me go to scheduling. So as we're all well aware, the scheduling is pretty weak within standard mass, and they don't do a really good job of helping us reschedule work orders because it assumes that all work centers or infinite load work centers that you've got the ability to grab more bodies and throw it at these jobs and add hours to the schedule, and it's really just not the case. I mean, you have a lot of work centers that are finite load work centers and not infinite load. So I mean, you might have some infinite load, some finite, or maybe they're all finite load and the infinite load doesn't work at all for you. But we tried to make this a little more accommodating for you by working through a dashboard, and then I'll show you some of the new features we've got set up that we're just about ready. There's a few little fixes that need to be done on it, but we have added finite load handling to the mass work order system. So the way it is now is if you come out here and you look at a work center, what we do on this dashboard is we give you the day of the week, right? So you could see that, today is the 14th and it's a Tuesday, right? So whatever day I double click on here gets kind of moved to the middle of the screen. That way I can scroll right and left. So if, let's say I double click on the 6th, the 6th becomes the day, the 6th gets in the middle, and you can see that I've got 29 hours scheduled on Monday. You can see Monday is an 8-hour, I have eight scheduled total hours in here, so you can see I'm over capacity. So once again, we have to decide what we want to do with that over capacity. So I've got the ability to click on these work orders. I can sort these. I could sort on these columns if you like, but you can basically see what work orders are going to run through them and what work center and step is going to run through them and what their scheduled hours are. And obviously the standard hour here is 8 hours. So you could see on 95366 that, I have, that activity. If I do 95380, not only is, here's the Monday, but it actually falls back on Saturday that it's got 0.4 hours still left to do, and then it's going to fall forward to Tuesday. So you could see when you click on a step here, you get more step days that you could see this cab step 0000 is what it's going to do. So what we've allowed you to do is basically come out here and decide what you want to move, right? So you can basically say, look, I've got 8 hours here. I can't really, work on it for this 8 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and move that. So why don't I create a new day and say that, I can't work on it on, the 6th, so why don't I push it to the 7th, okay, and schedule that forward. So now that got moved out of there. So now that's on the 7th instead of on the 6th. And then I could do the like for the rest of them. And then the other thing I can do too is I can hold the control key down. So I can go like this, and then schedule and do the 7th. And that way I can do more than one at a time. So now the screen just needs to get refreshed. Now I've got 7 hours in here, so I'm at 90%. So once again, you can move through the schedule and you can change things up. You can, this gives you a weekly schedule, or it's a moving 7 days. So if you click on this, it's going to show, okay, I've got 7.2 hours on this Monday, the 6th, and I've scheduled 8. I'm at 90% capacity. Here's Tuesday. Here's what I've got, and so forth. So this is information that, and I think we let you download this to Excel also, but this is stuff that you can use as a handy little tool as you move forward. So then you could say, all right, well, I'm going to go to the 7th now, and I'm going to move, I'm going to, maybe this one can be, moved back to the 6th or something, right? So let's move that back to the, let's move that back to the 6. So then if I go back to the 6, I now move that 0.5 back. So now I'm, I think I might have moved more than just that. I think I moved some of these others back with it. So anyways, I just wanted to show you how we can move things around on the schedule. And then once again, that when you're on the dashboard, you can drill down to any of that. So, as you're on the dashboard, and you're looking at any of these jobs that we're working on. So, if I go to, operations, and I've got 25 hours scheduled here, and I want to drill to the schedule, you'll see that it drilled right to the 21st, because you can see that it starts on the 21st and ends on the 24th. So I drilled right in on this work order. I think it was this work order. Yeah, 95195. Okay. So you could drill right in from here. Now, some of the new features that we've added, which are really nice, and I'm going to just show them to you real quick because they're worth showing to you, is that we've allowed you to add work centers as finite load work centers. And we also let you have a schedule days override option. So now that when you're in here, certain work centers are finite load and certain work centers are infinite load. So if you go here, this is now considered a finite load work center, and that's set up in work center maintenance. And for that, it's going to list certain things that you can do. And you can see here, like on the 17th, okay, I've got it set that the 17th is a Friday, and Friday is set to 8 days. I have a feature to do overrides. So I can override any given day. So I can come out here and look at the override days, and you can see that I've overridden some days here in the future and made them 16-hour days instead of 8-hour days. So, if there's a special day where you've got, more machines online, you can either do it by what I did, which was just changing the available hours to 16, but you could change anything. You can add queue time, efficiency percentages, or number of workers or machines, minimum schedule time, so it'll save all that. You can also do what I did here. I did a range. I said from the 20th, from the 20th to April 30th, add 16 hours. So if I wanted to do another one, let's just say, okay, I know on April 30th things are going to change. So on May 1st to May 31st, the available hours really are only going to be 10, and I'm going to update that. So that went ahead and changed those days. So it just added those in here too. So now what you'll see is that as the schedule goes forward, you'll see like here on the 20th, we actually changed the color in blue, means it's looking at overrided days versus in regular black. So that just gives you a symbol that this was an overrided day. So we can now, as we schedule jobs out finite load-wise, we'll go ahead and know that there's extra hours out there for us to put more time into here. So if I would go farther out, I should be able to, well, I don't have any jobs out there, but if I would actually put a big job out there, for example, because it's now finite load handling, I could come out here and say, let's go ahead and create a released work order. Let's do this. Let's make it for 1,000. There's that max lot size. I told you that stock mass always warns you on. Let's say that I come out here and generate all the information. And let's just say I want to do forward scheduling to make this work easier. And let's say I'm going to do a release date of 02, whoops, sorry about that, 0225. Okay, let's put it out there and let's schedule it. Okay, so what you're going to notice now in the schedule is that it went ahead and 225 to 33, 633 to 310, 95367. Okay, so if I would go out here, let's go through the dashboard. Let's go operations, and let's drill down here into the schedule. And you'll see that that it's starting out here on 225 with 16 hours, and it's pushing every day another 16 hours. And then eventually, you would think, I'm not sure where it went to at the end. If I would get back out of here, it ends at 325. So I guess I didn't make enough or push it enough to get to the 10 hours, but it made it through because it's telling you how many hours that it needs. So you see, I need 101 hours for this first step. And at 16 hours a day, it's going to go ahead and push those through to those days. Whoops. So once again, you know, I have my override schedule. I can go ahead and forward or backward this information if I like. If I, you know, I'm on I'm on the wrong one, accessories. I wanted to go to cab. I think I clicked on the bottom line here, maybe. Okay, on 325. I'm 225. I'm on the wrong bit. Okay, so I have 16 hours scheduled out here. And you can see how it's going 16 on 225, another 16 there. And as it gets all the way up to 3.3, you'll see there's my 101 planned hours I have up here and 101 planned out here. So once again, we've made this a finite load schedule so we can move it in. And now if we need to move stuff around, we can move stuff around. So basically, you know, we can go ahead. We started it on Tuesday, so I could take a look at what the future schedule is. And you could see, this is one of the little fixes we have. We have to make sure that we go off of the adjusted schedule of 16 hours instead of 8, because it's showing my capacity at 200%. So that's one of the fixes. Anyways, this is the add-ons that we've made to the schedule. So through the dashboard and through work order entry, we've added actually the start and stop date too. So you could see now in here, it used to just give you the start, so we give you start and end date here. And we also let you drill into the schedule this way if you like. So on any operational line, I can drill into the schedule. So this one is 313. So once again, you could drill from the dashboard, you could drill from work order entry, and I think we could do it from inquiry if we want to still be in inquiry. No, it's only work order entry on the dashboard. We're trying to avoid going into inquiry much more because now with the dashboard, we let you drill into work order inquiry from there. So since you can drill right into inquiry here, we're trying to stay away from adding extra stuff that we don't need to add in there. And once again, you know, you can set up your finite load, and the default with standard mass has always been everything's infinite load. So now what we do is we just basically give you a new checkbox here for finite load work center. So you can either enter it or not enter it. These are the standard days that you can leave alone. You can put them in as your general, and then as through the work center, you can build your schedule out that way by changing your work centers on daily basis. And then as things come up, if a machine goes down, you can change it there and reschedule stuff and move stuff around accordingly. You can use that for infinite load also. So that's not just for finite load handling. And you can do it for your outside processing work center. So for this guy here too, which is an outside processing work center, I can go out here and change my days too. As you can see, he added the workers per machine and did a few other tests out here. So it works for, this is an infinite load, since the finite load's not checked, and lets you work your way through that. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on the scheduling? Looks like I've got Wendy still there, but we lost Barbara, huh?
Yeah, she shot me a message. She had a client emergency that she had to take care of, but I told her that I would send her the videos from what she missed.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We have one other add-on that we haven't incorporated into the package yet that we've done in terms of label printing. I could show that to you specifically if you like, but if we would, if you're interested in it, I can give you a demo, and it's easily added. We'll be adding it soon, and that is the reserve lot serial enhancement add-on. Well, if Wendy doesn't have any questions, I say we're done.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ron.
Okay, Brandy. Take care. Sorry for the errors that I had. I'm going to have to get those fixed up here. I'm not sure. I know that we had something with that auto-generate PO for outside processing, and I just need to get my programmers to take a look at that again, because that shouldn't happen. There's something stuck out there. Okay, guys. Take care.
So have a good one.